Okay, apologies for getting so boring back there, but that's how it is. It's the world system is set up in this way. The fact that you live in a country with really good infrastructures, really top-notch universities, and um, um, very powerful investment banks, and that you earn money uh, that is a very powerful currency, and have it in your pocket all the time. Uh, I mean, it goes out soon, but at least it was in there. Most people never even see dollars in the world. So this is, this is just how it is. This is the way the world is, and you recognize this world because you've seen it before. I'm pretty sure when you watched the Hunger Games.
You've probably read The Hunger Games, or at least seen the movie. In 2012, according to The Hollywood Reporter, The Hunger Games became the most tweeted about movie on the planet. The basic dystopian premise is that the United States has devolved into Panem, a brutal empire of 12 subject districts ruled via an advanced technology from a capital in the Rockies. Each of the districts has an economic specialization, from coal mining to fishing to electronics manufacture to making luxury goods. People and goods flow between the capital and each district, but people from each district are ignorant about those in other districts and rarely travel there. Because all goods flow to the capital, life there is lavishly rich and technologically advanced, but the 12 districts are in varying states of poverty. Because of this, long ago the 12 districts rebelled against the capital district. After the rebellion was put down, for their punishment, the districts held an annual lottery to select 2 children from each district to compete in a fight to the death. The Hunger Games is a ritual celebration of the power of the capital, and serves as a warning to the districts never to rebel again. In the build-up to the games, the selected children become instant celebrities. 23 children die, but the single winner receives fame and fortune for life. During the game, hidden cameras follow the children's attempts to stay alive and kill the others, turning the whole event into a reality television show watched by everyone in all 12 districts. Citizens of the capital are far removed from the deprivation and open oppression of the 12 districts, and are generally preoccupied with extravagant fashion, parties, and mass entertainment like the Hunger Games. Most capital citizens are depicted as either oblivious of or totally unconcerned with the poverty and desperation that prevails elsewhere in Panem. What if the Hunger Games trilogy reflected the real world? What if Nigeria or Mozambique were District 11? Or what if Morocco or South Africa were District 2? Would that make Western Europe and Japan and the US the capital? Actually, the world of the Hunger Games looks a lot like our world, as seen through the lens of world systems theory. World systems analysis, as developed by Emanuel Wallerstein and others since the 1970s, views world history for the past 500 years as a complex system with political, economic, and social elements, including an international division of labor. According to Wallerstein, there are 2 basic kinds of world economies. The first is the traditional empire, a vast bureaucratic structure with a single political center and an axial division of labor, encompassing multiple cultures. But beginning in the 15th century, a new kind of system emerged, a large axial division of labor with multiple political centers and multiple cultures. This new world economy encompasses within its bounds empires, city-states, and emerging nation-states. It's a world economy, not because it encompasses the whole world, but because the economic system is larger than any political unit in the world. It's a world economy because the basic linkage between the parts of the system is economic. World systems analysis divides the world into 3 economic zones: the core, the periphery, and the semi-periphery. These divisions are rooted in the fact that there are basically 3 kinds of jobs: extraction, manufacturing, and service. The first, extraction, involves taking natural resources out of the ground. Agriculture, mining, forestry, fishing, and the like predominate in periphery countries like Vietnam and Bolivia. The second, manufacturing, involves transforming those raw materials into finished products. Countries in the semi-periphery, like Brazil and China, have large, heavy industry sectors. The third, services, is the largest sector in all core countries. The label service industry conceals as much as it reveals. Stock analysts and fast food cashiers both provide a service, but the trend is toward more highly specialized labor, office jobs, training and certification, soft skills. These job sectors are distributed unevenly around the world. There are many more stock analysts and bond traders in England than in the Congo, for example. The system was set up when Europe controlled 85% of the planet, and it demands greater global investment in the core than in other parts of the world. While infrastructures in the core, highways, airports, hospitals, universities, are built to meet the needs of the population, in the periphery, infrastructures are built to aid in the extraction of resources, which are then shipped to the countries of the semi-periphery and the core. Overall, the game is fixed to make the rich richer and the poor poorer. The system also creates dramatic class structures within the countries that take part in it. A small number of locals who collaborate with the institutions of the core usually become very wealthy, but very little of this wealth trickles down to the rest of the population. And this structure applies within some of the countries of the core as well. In the United States, for example, wealthier parts of the country have better infrastructures and more investment capital, while poorer parts, like the South and Appalachia, have infrastructures designed to support the extraction of resources.
Okay, so you're familiar with this, no doubt, because you live in Ohio, which is somewhere in between. How many world-class universities are in Ohio? There's just the one big one, OSU, and then maybe Case Western Reserve is also a pretty huge research university. But places like Miami and UC are down. They're nationally ranked universities, but they're not at the same sort of global competitiveness level. But how many of those exist in Kentucky or West Virginia? None. Kentucky and West Virginia don't have world-class universities. And how many world-class universities exist in New York? Maybe a half dozen, right? Maybe more. So this is a evidence that where we are, it's pretty cool that that we live in the same within an hour's drive of a world-class children's hospital, and that's great for us. But if you live in northern Alabama and your kid gets leukemia, you're going to be doing a lot of driving. It's a lot harder. So you have to remember that the same system applies to the U.S. as applies to the rest of the world. Um,
The injustice of this system becomes naturalized, especially for those living in the core, so it's often difficult for them to recognize their own place in the system. Seen this way, the world of the Hunger Games is close to our own world. The core capital district rules the 12 districts through information, finance, and military force. The semi-peripheral districts 1 through 8 produce luxury items, weapons, electronics, electricity, transportation, and textiles. Finally, in the periphery, districts 9 and 10 produce grain and livestock. District 11, the agricultural south, is poor and black, and in poor and white Appalachian District 12, where Katniss comes from, farthest from the capital, avoiding starvation is the primary goal of the population. In fact, the 12 districts nearly perfectly map onto the 3 categories of core, semi-periphery, and periphery. The elites of the capital enjoy high standards of living, wear gaudy clothes, practice high-tech body modification, and engage in extravagant consumer habits. With very few exceptions, they are portrayed as self-absorbed to oblivion, throwing away luxury food and playing pointless games despite the malnutrition, violence, and desperation that prevail in the poorest of the 12 districts. The elites ignore the tremendous resentment building up in those districts in response to visions of capital luxury beamed in daily via television. The system's unjust cruelties have been naturalized, especially but not exclusively for those living in the core, and so it can sometimes be difficult to look through the eyes of someone on the other side. The heroine of the Hunger Games, Katniss Everdeen, is not from the core, but from the periphery. She is a victim of the capital, raised in a small coal mining town, her father dead in a mining accident, her mother recovering from emotional collapse. Katniss keeps her mom and her little sister alive through her prowess at poaching game from the surrounding hills. When her sister is chosen for the games, Katniss volunteers to replace her, resolving to give her life for her sister. Instead, once she gets on TV, Katniss woos the elites of the capital. They love her, but she does not love them back. She becomes first a figurehead for revolution, and eventually a genuine, violent insurgent, seeking to overthrow the core and rupture the system to create something new in its place. Readers and viewers love Katniss Everdeen. They love reading about her and watching her in movies. We identify with her struggle against the capital. But if Katniss Everdeen lived in our world, had been born in our global periphery, how would she feel about us? And how much would we identify with her and with her struggle if we saw her not in a movie, but on the TV news?
Okay, so the point here is that even though within the United States we are somewhat peripheral in relation to the coasts, these captains of industry on the in the big cities, we're still together with other Americans, more or less capital, and the rest of the world knows it. They know they know the way we live. We are pumping just like the capital did to the districts. We are pumping our media into their homes onto their phones 24/7. They get the movies before we do. Honestly, I've lived in places where you can buy the latest release 2 weeks before it opens in the states on the street for $5 on DVD, pirated DVD. Or you get it on a little in Cuba they use a little thumb drive and you can get the latest episodes of The Walking Dead or whatever Game of Thrones, anything that you can get in the United States, you can get anywhere else in the world, and they love it and they watch it. They know exactly how we live. They know exactly what we pay for our tattoos. They know exactly what we pay for our pet surgeries and squeaky toys. This is all really, really obvious to the rest of the world. They do not hate us, but if they did hate us, they would hate us. Why? Because we don't know why they should hate us. Okay.